Once again, everything is crumbling down in Montana, and at the end of an icy storm, Jacob Dutton will make a decision that will change everything. Let's do a complete breakdown of Jacob's most important decision yet and how it ties back to the fate of Zane Davis. Zane Davis's comeback. In the last episode of 1923's Season 1, we saw Zane Davis in the spotlight as Taylor Sheridan attempted to give us a blast from the past of a very racist America. It is not a secret that Sheridan loves to stack misery on misery in any of his productions, especially when it comes to a gut-wrenching finale. But the fans duly agree that the end of 1923 Season 1 was a painful punch in the throat, and by the looks of it, things are not going to improve anytime soon. But as the plot thickens, we have some being the keyword here, on what comes next in the origin story of Yellowstone. And of course, with that, we have already learned that Zane Davis is going to be a big deal in 1923 moving forward, perhaps as big as Rip Wheeler. Every determined Dutton family patriarch needs his commander, and well, Zane is Jacob's Rip, but with added layers of misery and pain. It is expected that Zane will play a huge role in saving the ranch as the villainous Donald Whitfield makes some crafty moves. Don't get us wrong, we still think that Spencer is going to be the natural heir to the contentious ranch, but Zane Davis won't be a side character in this bloody hustle. If anything, episodes 2 and 3 of 1923 Season 2 were enough to tell us that Jacob Dutton will go to any lengths for his right-hand man, and that makes for an interesting arc that no one saw coming, which means one thing and one thing only. An icy storm is brewing for Jacob Dutton, and we better get our coats ready. A little recap. Before we move on, just in case you don't remember what went down in the 1923 Season 1 finale, here's a little recap. The season finale of 1923 delivered a tragic twist, introducing viewers to an unexpected couple. Dutton Ranch foreman Zane, played by Brian Girardi, and his wife Alice Chow, played by Joy Osmanski, living a quiet ranching life in rural Montana with their 2 children, they seem to have carved out a simple but fulfilling existence, and it seems like no harm would come to them. But perhaps we spoke a bit too early. Just after a tender reunion between Zane and Alice, their world is shattered. A group of local officials storm their home, banging on the door, and if you are a seasoned Yellowstone viewer, any run-in with the law is intricately tied to the future of the ranch. While this seems like a remote possibility with Zane and Alice, the first 2 episodes of Season 2 changed our minds. And we'll tell you how. But back to the recap. The police are there to arrest Alice, accusing her of violating Montana's miscegenation laws, which criminalized interracial marriage. Confused and terrified, Alice insists she has no idea what they are talking about, but before she can even process what is happening, she is ripped from her home and dragged outside into the freezing cold, still dressed in nothing but her nightgown. Zane rushes to protect her, but his bravery is met with brutal force. The lawmen beat him down in front of his children, who watch in horror as their mother is taken away. The scene is stomach-turning as we again witness Sheridan's craft of mixing fiction with the historical truth. At the end of the episode, it seems it is the end of Zane Davis, and potentially his wife as well. There was a small possibility that it could be Jacob and Kara who would be taking care of the 2 children, and somehow they'd also play a role in protecting the essence of any Yellowstone story: save the ranch. Jacob Dutton's scheme. Back in the present, you'll be pleased to know that Zane Davis is alive. Barely, that is. After the deadly beating, Zane finds himself in the hospital, and for a second, it seems like his story will meet a tragic end. But of course, Jacob Dutton has other plans, the type of ones that require plotting, blackmail, and scheming. Of course. He teams up with the local sheriff, and together they pull off a little backroom deal to get Zane, his wife, and their kids out of trouble. Jacob Dutton's foremost strategy was to convince the judge handling Zane Davis's case, but he was not about to roll over easily. Jacob stepped in, taking full responsibility for Zane and Alice, thinking that would be enough to secure their freedom. But the judge had a different idea. He wanted something in return: the name of the priest who had dared to marry the couple. Jacob was not about to play by the judge's rules, and luckily, he did not have to. he and his sheriff friend spotted a little secret sitting right on the judge's desk: a bottle of liquor. And let's not forget that Prohibition was in full swing in Montana in 1923. The real kicker was that the judge was also married to a Native American woman himself, making his ruling more than a little hypocritical. Caught red-handed, the judge had no choice but to let Zane and Alice walk free. We already know that Taylor Sheridan loves peeling back the layers of society's double standards, and this moment is no exception. Rules are only rules until someone decides they are not. And obviously, it makes total sense why Cara Dutton is out there holding the ranch together with a shotgun. In a classic Yellowstone fashion, survival does not wait for permission. Not so happy ending. Now, it should have been a happy ending, but of course, the universe had other plans. As Jacob rushed Zane, Alice, and the children home, the dreaded blizzard finally hit. Snow and ice came down with a vengeance, turning their journey into a life-or-death situation. Zane, desperate to keep his kids from freezing, wanted to burn the wagon for warmth. But Jacob, always thinking ahead, shut that idea down fast. Instead of turning their only way home into firewood, he flipped the wagon over to create a shelter. The last we saw of them, they were huddled together, snow piling up around them. And fans were left wondering if they would make it out alive. But in a twist of fate, morning came, and somehow, against all odds, they survived. As the sun finally broke through the storm, they made their way home, proving once again that the Dutton clan survives all odds. But ahead of the storm, Jacob Dutton has an important decision to make, one that will change the course of his life, and with that, his ranch. Decisions and decisions. All right, spoiler alert. Zane and his family, as well as Jacob, make it to their home alive. But Zane's life is in shambles. After that brutal head injury from last season, the doctor did not have good news for him. Turns out, fluid had been building up in his brain, and the only way to fix it was as gruesome as it sounds: drilling a hole straight into his skull. That kind of thing should have been done in a hospital, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The only problem is that the doctor doesn't have any anesthesia available, so Zane would feel every ounce of pain during this almost barbaric procedure. Jacob is aware of this dilemma. Now, the only thing to find out is if he allows the doctor to put his front man through inhuman pain. Whatever Jacob decides, it will likely change the ranch. The family patriarch will not only lose his confidant, but Spencer will also miss a mentor when he finally takes over. It is also very likely that the villain of 1923 does not stop bugging Zane and Alice, and eventually, at the end of the season, they find another haven for their children. What lies in the future? It is unclear what will happen next, but as far as 1923 fans are concerned, there is no way Sheridan will get rid of an important character that early in the season. If Zane is truly an embodiment of Rip Wheeler, he should ideally stick around. Plus, if the spoilers and leaked images are anything to get by, we have on good authority that Zane will survive. Even before the season hit the screen, Paramount Plus was already dropping hints about this plotline. First look photos and teasers gave fans a sneak peek, and one particular still has everyone talking. Zane Davis was very much alive and well. According to the image caption, that scene is straight out of the 7th episode of the current season. In the shot, Zane looks just fine, standing outdoors like nothing happened. So unless the show is pulling a fast one, it is pretty safe to assume he will recover from that nasty head injury. But Sheridan is known to play tricks on his viewers, so only time will reveal Zane's future. What would be Jacob's decision? Let us know in the comments below.